Thank you for watching BlaXit. Please subscribe to our channel BlaXit. Smash that like button and share everywhere.
Emperor, rise up, rise up,
Hello and welcome to this interview with some Africans who for many decades were away from the continent and have decided to relocate in the era of black Africans, trying to trace their roots back to Africa. And today we are privileged to have two of them here with us. I will allow them to introduce themselves.
Thank you. My name's Nyancho Kajabi, aka Juliet Ryan from BlaXit, a YouTube channel which has almost 4 million viewers and nearly 52,000 subscribers. And we live here in the Gambia. We BlaXit, which means repatriate, relocate, back to West Africa, back to find our roots, back to reclaim our birthright, our place, our origins, where our ancestors were taken from.
Yes, I'm Hatib Kujabi, also known as Adrian Ryan. You know, I'm Juliet's husband. I'm the CEO of BlaXit.
Great, it's very fantastic to have you both speak to us. First off, how long have you been here in the Gambia?
Almost 3 years, but we've been coming here since 2011, so it's been over 10 years that we've been coming here to the Gambia, but we've lived here consistently for nearly 3 years now.
Now, Adrian, tell me, what is it that the Gambia gives you that the UK doesn't give to you? What made you decide that you were coming back to Africa, but precisely to stay in the Gambia, the smiling coast of West Africa?
In a nutshell, they never welcome you in England. And also, we as African descendant that was born outside of the continent, we have a spiritual feeling that we need to come back to our ancestral home. That's something that was taken away from us. And we are like lost souls out there, don't know where we belong. Because definitely not belong in England. I was born in the Caribbean, I love the Caribbean, but the history alone tell me that I should come back to the motherland, because this is where our ancestors was rightfully taken from, and we need to come back to restore our birthright.
Juliet?
Just being here alone among your own people gives you a sense of self-esteem, a sense of belonging, a sense of knowing who you are and where you come from. That has been taken from you. Your language was taken from you, so you have to replace that. Your culture's been taken from you. You have to replace that. Your people were taken from you. You have to replace that. Your knowledge was taken from you. You have to replace that. Everything's been ripped away from you and you're thrown into a foreign society. And so when you come back, you're able to reclaim that. And that is like the most important thing, I think, in coming back. People can say, okay, you're not going to have the same facilities as you have in the UK. We built those facilities in the UK. It was built off of the blood of our ancestors. Slavery built the West, and they're still benefiting from slavery today. Every single institution was built off of slavery. When I was in the UK, I remember listening to a speech by Prince Charles, wasn't it, Age?
Yeah.
Who talked about the terrible dark episode, so-called dark episode in history with regard to slavery. But where's the reparations? There's been no fixing of that. Where is the institutional development and where is the infrastructural development that is supposed to be brought back into Africa after it was ripped out as a regard because of colonialism?
Yes, these have been largely missing.
Yes. but what's happened? Colonialism still has left its indelible mark on Africa. We are still using those Western systems now for everything. So where's the African system?
That's an important question. I hope we may not have all of the answers for this single question today. But I come back to you, Adrian. You've been in the Gambia for the past 3 years, living here consistently, but over a period of 10 years, you were visiting the country. Tell me, has the Gambia been welcoming to you? Has Africa been welcoming to you?
I would say, in one sense, yes. The local people been very welcoming, but I see there's a need for change in how we are accepted. African descendants returning to our roots. There's nothing here to even remind us of what had happened to our ancestors, and I think that there's not much done to welcome us back, coming from, say, the governmental level. There's no sort of duty of care, in my opinion, that there to say, okay, when you return home to your ancestral land, you will be welcome, or not just treated as everybody else. Because the laws we face here is the laws that every other race that come to Africa will face. So our ancestors that was torn apart, taken away, and now their descendants is facing rejection when they come back here. But as for the general, moving with people and everything has been good, everybody been very supportive and loving. But the systems that was left behind by the colonial masters need to be adjusted a bit. Because, in the West, there was no apology given to us for slavery. They couldn't, it's like they don't care because they replace it with racism. And now we come back home, we need to be welcomed. We need to belong. We are not belong anywhere. I know I was born in the Caribbean, that was great, but the history of the Caribbean alone is still predicted by the colonial masters.
Juliet, very strong statements there. Many decades ago, centuries ago, his forefathers were traded and taken away to the Caribbean. And having grown up to realize that this is a terrible history that his forefathers faced, he decided to come back to Africa, and he speaks about rejection. Do you have the same feeling that you've come back to Africa, and the Gambia in particular, and feel sort of not welcomed?
Well, I think it's a two-pronged situation. In terms of the welcoming by our brothers and sisters here on the ground, I'm unmistakably, definitely welcomed. In terms of 15 years wait for citizenship, definitely not welcomed. Because why
you have to stay in the Gambia for 15 years before you can be granted full citizenship?
Absolutely, absolutely. And we're not treated any different, can you imagine, from the offspring of our enslavers. So if we're not being treated any different to the offspring of our enslavers, when we come back, what are we coming back to? And this is the question that needs to be asked. What is being done? Before, there used to be a festival, the Roots Festival, that used to welcome us back, and there were structures in place. We've proposed an automatic citizenship program, which is a 2-year program, which includes language lessons, cultural lessons, ambassadors that will welcome us back and integrate us back into society. And Adrian and I have been very lucky in the sense of the welcoming, because I am the secretary of the VDC in Bussorah. And
what is VDC?
That is the Village Development Committee. And so I am the secretary there. We have also been if you like, adopted is the only word I can use, and integrated into Bussorah by the Alcalo, by the Council of Elders, and by the villagers there. And I have a family. That's why we were given the name Nyancho Kujabi, and he's Hatib Kujabi. So we were given that. So in that sense, definitely there is that welcoming. But when you look on the actual sense, we have to keep buying our residency cards. Every single year, alien cards.
How much do you pay for that?
4,800 Dalasi, for including our work permits. And, you have to pay for that year in, year out.
So you're still treated as aliens?
Yes. We carry alien cards. Do I look like an alien to you? Do I look like an alien? Are we not African? Are we not? Is not my skin? Am I not black?
And through your engagements with the authorities, what do they say to you every time you raise this question about we belong here. We were taken away, but we've come back. This is where we consider to be home, and we should be accepted and accorded all of the privileges that come with staying in this country and living as a citizen. What is it that the authorities say to you, especially when they translate the law or explain, interpret the law to you?
Yeah, to be honest, some of them being very supportive, especially at the National Assembly. They also form a group to help us as well. And what they keep telling us is there need to be a change, a constitutional change. And that's the biggest question, when? And that's what I'm saying, but they say they're working on it. So we have to just be
But do you see
patiently
genuine
waiting.
effort on their part to work on this?
I would say yes, and I would say no. But I would say also give it time, because sometimes maybe they might need time, because this probably haven't been challenged before in the way we're probably challenging it now. As sometimes they probably got complacent. So changes come over time, and you just got to keep going. You keep going, because asking for your birthrights to be restored. And we also calling upon other African descendants that was displaced and taken by slavery to also come forward, because what seems to be happening, there seems to be mixing all of us up, calling all of us diasporan. But you could have people that chose to be economic migrants that live for greener pastures, but yet they know where they come from. But we that was taken don't know where we was taken from. All we know that we came from somewhere in Africa. And I think if we try to trace our roots here in Africa, I don't know how well they kept the records or who have left the shores in slave ships. I don't know if they had time to do that. So that's what I'm saying, we need the effort, of the politicians to support us coming back. Because one thing I would say, just a few days ago in Barbados, you have Prince Charles that gave a speech about slavery, And when they come back here, you hardly hear authorities here even talk about it. So those that commit the act, they're still talking about it, even they're not doing nothing to improve the lives of those that they have destroyed over hundreds of years. But yet when they come back to Africa itself that suffered from it, you hardly hear them speak about it. With exceptional to the Ghanaian president that is now opening up for us to return. Even here in the Gambia, we're pushing for that. Because we need to feel welcome.
Right.
We are Africans. You can't take that away from us. We have a right. It's our right. It's our birthright.
That's what the president
We
said.
have a right to even challenge the crime committed against our ancestors, because it have not been dealt with over all these years, and we are still suffering. And our voice seems to not be even here in the continent.
Juliet?
Yeah, I mean, this is a continental issue. This isn't just a Gambian problem. Yeah, this is a African continental issue. But I was saying that the president, we had the honor of going and having an audience with His Excellency, the president of the Gambia, Adama Barrow. And one of the things he told us was that as long as you're a black man, you're an African. And he also told us that no one can take our Africanness away from us. And he expressed a deep, interest, and he even had a meeting straight away afterwards. So I can say from the head of the country, I can see his commitment. But it has to be a team effort of everybody working together, because when we come home, so does our investments. When we come home, so does the expertise and the knowledge that we carry, that we share. When we come home, so does the love, so does the unity, so does a more powerful and stronger Africa. And that's what we need. We need a borderless Africa. All these borders need to be broken down. We are all Africans. We are all one people. And if we can come together and realize this and throw away all of the remnants that have been left by the colonial disaster makers, we will progress. But we have to start looking at breaking down, reconstructing. Look at what Paul Kagame done. Yeah? He retracted the laws. Yes, he retracted those laws. Look at how he's developing his nation after war, because he realized who was behind the war. And this is going to keep happening. What they're going to keep doing is underdeveloping, over-exploiting, and completely diffusing and confusing Africa. Yeah? And creating division. That's all that's going to happen. We know who they are and what they are, what their plans are, and we know all about them because we were born there. So we can share with you our experience, but you have to sit down at the table with us in order to gain that information. We do not want to sit here and be wasted when we have so much information to share. Let's sit down, drink a tire, and be a part of the future, because right now we can't vote. But everything...
Does that disappoint you? Because I was obviously going to talk to you about that. The Gambia is having its presidential election on the 4th of December. Obviously, you can vote. Do you wish for a time when you can be able to participate in the national election?
To be honest with you, it's nice to have a choice. Regardless of whether you want to or not, it's good to have a choice, because if I was Gambian and I went to England, after a certain period of time, I'm able to vote. But here we can't. So, you know, and you've got to remember that England has an unwritten constitution, but yet they gave them here under the Act of 1948 a written constitution. So there's so much to say in a short space of time, but to put it into a nutshell is that change needs to happen, right?
Fundamentally, what is it that African governments like the Gambia supposed to be doing to attract Africans who were, whose forefathers were sold into slavery and whose children are now planning to come back? What is it that the rest of Africa must be doing to welcome home their sons and daughters who were taken away many decades ago?
Well, I think that, Gambia was the first place to do it. I mean, look at Roots, 1977, look at the Homecoming Festival. But it shouldn't just be a festival. This should be an ongoing, rolling, program. The same as in Ghana. This shouldn't be the year of return. What are you talking about, year of return? This should be for generations and generations and generations to come.
Adrian?
Yes. So what I was saying, the door should never be closed on us that was taken away. Because, if a family member of yours being taken away from your house, it doesn't matter what time they return. 400 years, that history should have been preserved, and they should have been able to come back to their home, especially when they was just taken against their will. This was not a freedom of choice. So what is going on here is not right for us, and our voice not being heard. And this is how I feel, because it's still like we might approach, maybe different politicians with what we're talking about, but it's still down to them when they're going to think about it, when they're going to process it. It's terrible, because at the end of the day, this is our birthrights. It's our rights, it's your rights. Because you still could see the Prince of England, Prince Charles, writing speech like this from the darkest days of our past, and the appalling atrocity of slavery, which forever stay in our history. Yeah? The people of this island forged their path. This was in Barbados, with extraordinary fortitude, Charles said. Right? And now we're talking about emancipate, self-government and independence were your waypoints. Freedom, justice and self-determination have been your guidance. Now we come back here, we're still fighting for self-determination.
We don't have it.
So when is it going to stop for us? People that was taken and displaced without compensation, without repatriation, without nothing, and you're coming back to your mother's land, and you're facing the same colonial laws that keeping you separated.
Yeah, it's rejection. It's rejection. We were written out of the Constitution.
Completely.
Can you imagine? Written out. And then when you try and get back in, you even face rejection and challenges from your own people. Yeah, even from Gambians which aren't even living in Gambia, who are actually living outside of Gambia in Europe or America. They're not even living here. So their president is Joe Biden or their president is Boris Johnson, but they're trying to have impact on us being here, trying to push us out with xenophobia. What the? I don't know what's going on.
While they're living in other
While
parts
they're
of the
living
world.
in a white man's land. I'm sorry to say it. Taking the white man's money. We're here trying to bring the white man's money here, trying to build Africa. What is going on?
But we only could face these rejections when we're not taken seriously in the country itself. And this is what I'm talking. That's why we're appealing to the lawmakers to hear our plea. Because by we even speaking about this and there is no answers coming back from the authority, it now weaponizes the people.
Right.
To discriminate against us.
Exactly.
And this is what I'm saying. Sometimes you just don't feel welcome. And we have a right to be here. This is beyond whatever investment. This is our spiritual journey to return home. And this is what they have to understand. They could sit there knowing their culture, but we was robbed of our culture. And nothing was done.
One last question to you both. It's your choice to have moved to the Gambia. Others have gone to Ghana. Others have gone to Rwanda. 2 countries that people speak highly of because they are welcoming Africans coming back home. Do you sometimes contemplate on the point that you might consider leaving the Gambia if in the long run you are not accorded all the privileges to vote, to do and be considered like any other Gambian in this country?
Well, the AU has got a role to play, okay? The African Union has a role to play in all this. You can't just look at Africa, you have to look at all of the African countries, yeah? I can't single out just Gambia and say, no, because my ancestral roots come from Gambia, so why should I run? Why should I leave? Why should I go somewhere else? I'm connected here. I'm ancestrally connected here. So I have a right to be here. I have the same rights to everybody else, and I can make requests. I can, put in any kind of written proposals. And even if I want to, I can even make a demand if I have to. But I must not be quiet, and I must not be silenced, because the point I'm making is that for generations to come, this is not just about me. What about my 10-year-old son? What about my daughter? What about my grandchildren? What about their grandchildren? This is about our prosperity. This is about our development. This is about our abundance on a collective basis moving forward through history and through the future.
Adrian?
Yes, and we have said before, this is not a Gambian problem, it's a continental problem. So it doesn't matter where you go, you still gotta have to face these challenges because there's no door that is fully open to us. You understand? And it's our rights. And that's what I'm saying, it need more of us, more of us African descendants that was born in the enslaved to come back and speak up for your rights. You have a right to return, it's your right. And that's why we do encourage people to come. And the more voice that shouting the same thing is the more things might just change. If it's just a few, they might not take a few of us seriously. But if it's thousands, they will have to hear. But what I'm saying, regardless of whatever happened, we chose Gambia as our home. And whatever happened here in the Gambia can affect us. So whether it's a political change, whatever happened there will affect us. If the price of food go up, it will affect us. Whatever happened here affects us. So also we need to be treated, as citizens of the country. Because we feel displaced and we were displaced. And we have a right to come back to our ancestral home. And some of the rejections that we face is not easy. But as our great leader Marcus Garvey said, keep going, keep pushing, because Marcus Garvey has been shouting for over 100 years.
What a pleasant way to conclude this interview. Keep going and keep growing. Thank you so much for speaking to the West Africa Democracy Radio, Adrian and Juliet.
Thank you. The amnesia must end. They must remember who we are.
Yeah, they must. Yeah? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One nation, one Africa. Thank you, BlaXit family. Please keep watching. Remember, follow your dreams.
Purchase your tracks today. Purchase your tracks today. Purchase your tracks today. Purchase your tracks today. tracks today.